Barbara, your aesthetic just doesn't match our vision, she said, wrinkling her nose at my pearl necklace like it was roadkill. We're going for modern elegance, not whatever this is. She gestured at me like I was a museum piece. I just smiled and nodded. Because tomorrow, when their loan payments came due, they'd discover exactly how modern my approach to family loyalty really was. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever been told you're not good enough for someone else's special day? Have you ever watched someone you love choose appearances over family? This isn't just about a wedding. This is about the moment I realized that sometimes the people you sacrifice everything for don't even see you as human. If you've ever been dismissed by people who owe you everything, stay with me. Subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. My name is Barbara. I'm 59 years old, and 6 months ago I learned that being called old-fashioned can be the most expensive insult someone ever gives you. It started 3 years ago when my son Michael brought home Sophia for the first time. I should have known then that trouble was coming. Not because Sophia was a bad person, she wasn't, but because she looked at my house the same way people look at historical reenactments, with polite interest and barely concealed superiority. "Mum, this is Sophia," Michael had said, beaming with pride as he led a tall, striking brunette into my living room. She was beautiful in that Instagram way, perfect makeup, designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget, and the kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. "Mrs. Chen," she said, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "Michael has told me so much about you." I'd made my grandmother's beef stew, the one Michael had requested every birthday since he was 7. I'd set the table with my good china, the set my mother had given me when I got married, delicate white porcelain with tiny blue flowers that I treasured more than anything else I owned. "This is so authentic," Sophia said, looking around at my dining room with its family photos and handmade doilies. "It's like stepping back in time." Michael laughed nervously. "Mum's a little old school, but in a good way." Old school. That was the beginning of it all. Over the next few months, I tried so hard to connect with Sophia. I invited her to family dinners, included her in holiday celebrations, even offered to teach her my grandmother's dumpling recipe when she mentioned she'd never learned to cook. "That's so sweet," she'd said, "but I'm more of a meal kit person. All that traditional cooking is so time-consuming." Time-consuming. Like love could be measured in minutes saved. The real trouble started when they got engaged. Michael proposed on New Year's Eve, and they called me at 12:30 a.m., both of them giggling and talking over each other. "Mom, we're getting married," Michael shouted into the phone. I was genuinely happy for them. Michael was 28, had just finished his MBA, and was starting a promising career in finance. Sophia had completed law school and landed an associate position at a prestigious firm. They seemed stable, successful, ready for marriage. "Congratulations, sweetheart," I said. "I'm so excited for you both." "We want you to be involved in everything," Sophia said, taking the phone from Michael. "This is going to be such a fun journey together." I believed her. I actually believed her. The wedding planning started immediately. Sophia had a Pinterest board with over 500 pins, a detailed spreadsheet, and opinions about everything from napkin folds to flower arrangements. She'd been planning this wedding since she was 12, she told me, and now she finally had the budget to make it perfect. Budget. That was the second warning sign I ignored. "We're thinking of having the ceremony at the Fairmont," Sophia announced during one of our early planning meetings. "The ballroom is just stunning. Very modern, very sophisticated." "That sounds lovely," I said. "What's the cost?" 15,000 for the venue rental, she said casually, like she was discussing the weather. Plus catering, flowers, photography, music. We're budgeting about 60,000 total. My coffee cup rattled as I set it down. $60,000. That was more than I made in a year at my job as a school secretary. That's substantial, I managed. We want it to be perfect, Michael said, squeezing Sophia's hand. We both work hard. We deserve to celebrate in style. I wanted to ask how they planned to pay for it. Michael was just starting his career, still paying off his business school loans. Sophia had law school debt that I knew was substantial. But they seemed confident, so I stayed quiet. 2 weeks later, Michael called me at work. "Mum, can you come over tonight? Sophia and I need to discuss something with you." I found them sitting at their kitchen island, laptops open, surrounded by papers. Sophia looked nervous. Michael looked like he was about to ask me to donate a kidney. "Mum, sit down," he said. I sat. "We've been working on the wedding budget," Sophia began, "and we've run into a small problem." Small problem. In my experience, any problem that required a formal sit-down conversation was never small. "The thing is," Michael continued, "between my MBA loans and Sophia's law school debt, our credit isn't quite where it needs to be for the vendors we want to use." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "What does that mean?" "We need a co-signer," Sophia said quickly. "Just for the wedding expenses. It's totally manageable. We both have great jobs now, excellent earning potential. The payments would be easy for us to handle." "How much money are we talking about?" I asked. Michael and Sophia exchanged a look. "Well, we've expanded our vision a little bit," Sophia said. "We found this amazing photographer who's worked with celebrities, and there's a florist who can do these incredible installations." "How much?" I repeated. 85,000, Michael said quietly. "But Mum, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and the loan terms are really reasonable. 5 years, manageable monthly payments. $85,000. For one day." I thought about my own wedding. A simple ceremony in the church basement, followed by a potluck reception in the parish hall. It had cost less than $500 and had been the happiest day of my life. "I need to think about it," I said. "Of course," Sophia said, but I could see the impatience in her eyes. "Just don't think too long. We need to secure the vendors soon or we'll lose our dates." I went home that night and sat at my kitchen table with my calculator and bank statements. I could co-sign the loan. My credit was excellent, my job was stable, and I had enough equity in my house to cover the debt if something went wrong. But $85,000 for a wedding felt obscene to me. On the other hand, this was my son's happiness we were talking about. And if Sophia was going to be my daughter-in-law, maybe I needed to start somewhere. I called them the next morning. "I'll co-sign the loan." Sophia actually squealed with excitement. "Barbara, thank you so much. You're the best future mother-in-law ever." The best future mother-in-law ever. I should have recorded that conversation. The loan process took 2 weeks. I signed so many documents that my hand cramped. Michael and Sophia were giddy with excitement, showing me vendor portfolios and talking about details I didn't understand. Sophia had opinions about everything: the specific shade of ivory for the linens, the height of the centerpieces, the font for the invitations. "This is going to be the wedding of the century," she told me. "Everyone's going to be so impressed." Everyone. I wondered if I was included in that everyone. The first sign that I might not be came during the invitation addressing session. Sophia had hired a calligrapher. Of course she had. and needed to review the guest list one more time. "We're keeping it intimate," she explained, showing me a spreadsheet with names and addresses. "Only 200 people." 200 people was intimate? My own wedding had 37 guests, including the priest. "I don't see Aunt Linda," I said, looking through the list. Linda was my sister, the one who'd helped me raise Michael after his father died. "Right," Sophia said, not looking up from her laptop. "We had to make some cuts. Michael barely knows her, and we're trying to keep the guest list to people who are really important to us." Important to us. My sister, who had babysat Michael every weekend for 2 years so I could work double shifts, wasn't important to them. "What about my work friends?" I asked. "Janet and Carol?" "Barbara," Sophia said, with that patient tone people use with children. "We appreciate that these people are important to you, but this is really about celebrating with our peer group. People who understand our vision for the day." Our vision. Our peer group. I was starting to understand where I fit in this wedding and where I didn't. The next few months were a blur of vendor meetings, dress fittings, and tastings. I attended everything I was invited to, which was less and less as time went on. Sophia made most decisions with her mother and her maid of honor, a fellow lawyer named Crystal, who seemed to think I was the cleaning lady every time we met. "The color palette is very specific," I overheard Sophia telling her mother during one of our venue walkthroughs. "Sage green, ivory, and gold. Very sophisticated, very modern. Nothing too traditional." She said traditional like it was a disease. "What about Barbara?" her mother asked. "What's she wearing?" "I'm handling that," Sophia said. "I've found some options that will work with our aesthetic." Our aesthetic. I was a prop to be managed, not the groom's mother to be honored. The dress shopping trip confirmed my suspicions. Sophia took me to a boutique in the city, the kind of place where the salespeople looked at you like they were doing you a favor by acknowledging your existence. "We need something for the mother of the groom," Sophia told the salesperson. "Something tasteful, not too flashy, not too much." Not too much. Translation, not too me. They showed me a series of beige and grey dresses that looked like they'd been designed for funeral directors. Shapeless, colourless, designed to make me disappear into the background. "These are perfect," Sophia said, when I tried on a particularly unflattering grey number. "Very understated, very appropriate, very invisible," she meant. "What about this one?" I asked, pointing to a navy blue dress with delicate beading. It was beautiful, elegant, and actually flattering. Sophia's face tightened. "It's a little bold for what we're going for. Remember, this is about Michael and me. We don't want anything to distract from the bridal party." I was going to distract from the bridal party, in a navy blue dress, at my own son's wedding. I bought the grey dress. The final insult came 2 weeks before the wedding. Michael and Sophia invited me to lunch to go over final details, which I assumed meant confirming my role in the ceremony or discussing logistics. Instead, they handed me a typed list. "What's this?" I asked. "Just some guidelines," Sophia said brightly, "to make sure everything goes smoothly on the wedding day." I read the list in growing disbelief. "Please arrive at 3 p.m. Ceremony starts at 6 p.m. for photos. Please check with Sophia's mother before approaching vendors or making requests. Please keep conversations brief during cocktail hour. We want to mingle with everyone. Please sit at assigned table number 12 during reception. Please avoid dancing during first 3 songs. Bridal party showcase. Please coordinate bathroom breaks with maid of honor to avoid being in photos. I looked up at them. You made me a list of rules for your wedding? Not rules, Michael said quickly. Just suggestions to help everything run smoothly. Sophia, I said carefully, do you have a similar list for your mother? Well, no, but she's more familiar with this type of event. She's been to lots of society weddings. Society weddings? And I hadn't, because I was too common, too old-fashioned, too much of an embarrassment to trust without written instructions. I see, I said. And table 12, where is that? Near the back, Sophia said, but it has a lovely view of the dance floor. The back, the mother of the groom, relegated to the back like a distant cousin or unwanted +1. That night, I sat in my kitchen and really looked at what was happening. I was financing a wedding that cost more than most people's cars, and in return, I was being treated like a barely tolerated guest. I was good enough to co-sign their loan, but not good enough to sit with family, dance when I wanted to, or wear a dress I actually liked. That's when I made my decision. I called my lawyer the next morning. Ellen, I said when she answered the phone, I need to understand my rights regarding a loan I co-signed. What kind of loan? She asked. Wedding expenses, $85,000. My son and his fiancée are the primary borrowers. Are you having concerns about repayment? I'm having concerns about respect. Ellen walked me through the legal details. As co-signer, I had certain rights, including the right to receive copies of all payment notices and the right to pay off the loan myself if I chose to do so. More importantly, if the primary borrowers defaulted, I could take legal action to recover the debt, including garnishing wages and placing liens on property. Why are you asking, Barbara? Ellen asked. Just preparing for possibilities, I said. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. I showed up at 3 p.m. in my grey dress, carrying a gift bag with a card that simply said, "Congratulations." I took my assigned photos, smiled on cue, and watched my son marry a woman who had spent 6 months treating me like an embarrassing relative. The ceremony was beautiful. I had to admit that. Sophia's vision had come together flawlessly. The flowers were stunning, the music was perfect, and the setting was undeniably elegant. It was everything she had wanted: sophisticated, modern, impressive, and cold. So beautifully, expensively cold. During the reception, I sat at table 12 with 7 strangers, distant relatives of Sophia's family who were friendly enough, but clearly wondering why the groom's mother was sitting in Siberia. I watched Michael and Sophia dance their first dance to a song I'd never heard, surrounded by their friends, their world, their vision of perfection. I left after dinner, before the dancing really started. Nobody seemed to notice. The first loan payment was due 30 days later. Michael called me on day 31. Mum, there's a problem with the loan payment. What kind of problem? It didn't go through. The bank called both of us. I had been expecting this call. Did you check your account balance? That's the thing. We're a little short this month. Sophia's job has a longer probation period than expected, and my signing bonus got delayed. It's just temporary. Just temporary. How much are you short? The full payment, $2,300. The full payment. They couldn't make even the first payment on the loan I had guaranteed. Michael, I said calmly, what did you expect to happen? Well, we thought maybe you could cover this month, and then we'll take over starting next month. They thought I would cover it. Of course they did. I'll think about it, I said. Mom, please don't think too long. Late fees are expensive. Late fees were expensive. Unlike $85,000 weddings, apparently. I didn't make the payment. The bank called both of us on day 45. Michael called me in a panic. Mum, the bank says the payment is seriously delinquent. This is going to hurt our credit. Your credit was already too poor to qualify for the loan, I reminded him. That's why you needed a co-signer. But you're the co-signer. Can't you just make the payment? I can, I said. But I'm not going to. Silence. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not paying for a wedding where I was treated like a second-class guest. Mum, that's not fair. Sophia worked so hard on that wedding. Sophia worked hard on creating a beautiful event that had no room for your mother in it. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. There was that word again. Michael, do you know where I sat at your wedding? Another silence. At your assigned table. Table 12, in the back, behind people I'd never met. Do you know what I wore? A dress? A grey dress I hated, that Sophia picked out because she was afraid I'd be too much if I wore something I actually liked. Mum, do you remember the list of rules Sophia gave me for your wedding day? This silence was longer. Those weren't rules. Don't dance during the first 3 songs. Don't talk too long to guests. Check with Sophia's mother before making any requests. Those weren't rules. Sophia just wanted everything to be perfect. Perfect for whom, Michael? Because it wasn't perfect for me. I financed your fairy tale and got treated like the hired help. Michael was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "What do you want us to do?" I want you to understand what you chose. You chose Sophia's vision over your mother's dignity. You chose impressing strangers over honoring family. You chose modern elegance over old-fashioned love. That's not what we chose? Then prove it. Take responsibility for the debt you incurred. Make the payments you promised to make. Show me that I'm more than just a name on a bank document. I hung up. The next few weeks were uncomfortable. Michael called several times, alternating between apologies and anger. Sophia called once, crying, saying she never meant to hurt my feelings and couldn't I please just make the payment so they could get back on track. The bank called daily. On day 60, I received a formal notice that the loan was in default and that collection proceedings would begin soon. Both Michael and Sophia's names would be reported to credit agencies. Their wages could be garnished. Their future financial plans were now in serious jeopardy. Michael showed up at my house that evening. He looked terrible. Unshaven, exhausted, wearing the same clothes he'd had on when I saw him 3 days earlier. "Mum, please. This is destroying our marriage. Sophia's parents are furious. My job might be affected if my credit gets ruined. We need help." I made tea, and we sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd made the decision to co-sign their loan months earlier. "Tell me about your marriage," I said. "What do you mean?" "I mean, how is married life? Are you happy?" Michael rubbed his face. "We're stressed. The money thing is hanging over everything. Sophia's parents keep asking why we can't just pay our bills. She's embarrassed." She's embarrassed. They don't understand why someone with our education and career prospects can't manage a simple loan payment. And what do you tell them? That it's temporary, that we'll figure it out. Without mentioning that you asked your old-fashioned mother to bail you out. Michael looked at me with something that might have been shame. "Mum, I know we didn't handle things perfectly." "What specifically didn't you handle perfectly?" "The wedding stuff. Some of Sophia's ideas about how things should be." "Such as?" Michael was quiet for a long time. The table assignment thing was wrong, and the dress thing, and the rules list. What else? Not inviting Aunt Linda and your friends from work. What else? Making you feel like you didn't matter. I reached across and took his hand. Michael, I don't need a perfect wedding or a fancy dress or a seat at the head table. I need to know that my son remembers who raised him, who sacrificed for him, who loved him before anyone else ever did. I remember, Mum. Then act like it. Take responsibility for your choices. Make your payments. Build your marriage on something more solid than other people's money and approval. But we can't make the payments right now. Then you need to make different choices. Sell something. Get second jobs. Move to a smaller apartment. Do what families do when they can't afford their dreams. They adjust their dreams. Michael nodded slowly. And if we do that, if we figure this out ourselves, what happens to us? To our relationship? That depends on what you learn from this experience. 3 months later, Michael and Sophia had sold her car, moved to a less expensive apartment, and both taken part-time second jobs. They were making the loan payments on time, slowly rebuilding their credit and their self-respect. Sophia called me on a Tuesday evening in March. Barbara? It's Sophia. Could I come over and talk to you? She arrived an hour later, looking different somehow, less polished, more tired, but also more real. I owe you an apology, she said, without preamble. For what specifically? For treating you like you were disposable, for acting like your contribution to our wedding was just financial, for making you feel unwelcome at your own son's celebration. I poured us both tea. Why are you apologizing now? Because the last few months have taught me what it feels like to be judged and found lacking. My parents have been critical of our financial situation. My friends have been less supportive than I expected. I've felt excluded and embarrassed and disposable. She paused, looking into her teacup. And I realized that's exactly how I made you feel. I was so worried about what everyone would think of my wedding that I forgot to care about what my choices said about me as a person. What do they say about you? That I valued appearance over substance. That I cared more about impressing strangers than honoring family. That I was, what's the opposite of old-fashioned? Shallow? She winced. Yes, shallow. We talked for 2 hours that night. Sophia told me about the pressure she'd felt to have a perfect wedding, about her fear that anything less than flawless would reflect poorly on her professional image. I told her about watching my son grow up, about the sacrifices I'd made gladly, about how it felt to be treated like a problem to be managed instead of a person to be loved. I want to do better, she said as she was leaving. I want to be the daughter-in-law you deserve, not the one you got stuck with. You're not stuck with anything, I said. You're choosing every day what kind of person to be and what kind of family to build. 6 months later, Sophia organized a small dinner party at their new apartment. She cooked, badly, but with enthusiasm, and invited Aunt Linda and my work friends, Janet and Carol. She wore jeans and served the meal on mismatched plates they'd bought at a thrift store. This is so much better than the wedding food, Linda said, and everyone laughed, including Sophia. After dinner, Sophia pulled me aside. I have something for you, she said, handing me a wrapped package. Inside was a framed photo from their wedding, not one of the professional portraits, but a candid shot someone had taken during the ceremony. It showed Michael and Sophia at the altar, but in the background, you could see me in my grey dress, tears in my eyes, smiling with genuine joy at my son's happiness. I found this on my cousin's phone, Sophia said. And I realized something. You weren't disappointed in that dress because it was grey. You were beautiful because you were happy for us, even when we didn't deserve it. I hung the photo in my living room, right next to my other family pictures. Today, Michael and Sophia have been married for 2 years. They finished paying off their wedding loan 6 months early. They've learned to live within their means, to value substance over appearance, and to treat family like family instead of like financial instruments. Last month, they asked me to co-sign a mortgage loan for a modest house with a big backyard and a kitchen large enough for family dinners. I said yes, because this time they asked as people who understood what co-signing really meant, not just shared financial responsibility, but shared trust, shared respect, and shared commitment to each other's well-being. Some people never learn that love isn't old-fashioned or modern, it's just love. And it shows up in how we treat the people who show up for us, again and again, regardless of whether we deserve it. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own stories in the comments. Your voice matters.